Hi, and welcome to Hiss and Tell, a podcast about cat behavior and all things cat related. I'm your host, Kristiina Wilson, professional animal behaviorist. Today's episode is all about cat cafes. Today I'll be speaking with Amelia and Veronica, two of the cattery guides at Koneko Cat Cafe in the East Village. Koneko is the very first cat cafe that I ever visited, and so I had so many questions for both Amelia and Veronica. So join us as we discuss all things cat cafe. Welcome to today's episode of Hiss and Tell. I'm your host, Kristiina Wilson, and with me today are Amelia and Veronica. They are two of the cattery guides at Koneko Cat Cafe, which is located in the East Village / Lower East Side in New York City. And that's it. Welcome, Amelia and Veronica. I don't know why am I clapping? Why? What is wrong with me? So much is wrong with me. Okay, so can you guys tell me a little bit about how Koneko came about? It was one of the first cat cafes to open in New York City, and also tell everybody what Koneko means.
Yeah. So Koneko means kitten in Japanese, and we were founded in late 2015, beginning of 2016. And our owner and founder, Ben Kalb, he took a trip to Japan that really inspired him. Specifically, he went to a cat cafe that I think he knew that's what he wanted to do. So when he came back to the city, he decided to open his own, and he wanted to include some more elements of modern design and art in his cat cafe. So yeah, 2016. It's been, I guess, almost 10 years. So yeah, a lot of cats.
Yeah. Or do you have statistics on it? And we'll talk a little bit more about the adoptions as we go on, but do you know roughly how many cats have been adopted out since that time?
Well, if it's been 9 years, and how much per year?
So I think we average about 120 adoptions per year. We'll usually do about 10 adoptions per month, sometimes more, sometimes less, just depending on the season. So yeah, I'd say about 120 per year.
Okay. Hang on. I'm going to do some math on my phone because I'm bad at math. Okay, so if we have 120 per year times, how many years it's been open? 8 years?
9, 8 or 9.
9 years.
9.
Yeah.
9 years. Okay, 120 times, I can't even use the calculator. I stink. Wow, okay, that gives us 1,080 cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an amazing number of cats. Amazing. How soon did you guys come into working at Koneko? Sorry. How am I meant to pronounce it? I've been saying it wrong this whole time.
It's Koneko.
Koneko, okay.
Yeah. So I started working there in January of 2022.
And I started as a volunteer in April 2022, and then I started actually working July of that year.
Okay. So do you know what the challenges were at all being one of the first cat cafes in the city? And I think in the country, really. Do you have any idea what that was like?
I mean, a lot of it, the idea is still a little bit foreign to some people. So they come in and they're not really sure what to expect. So that's been interesting trying to explain to people, especially when people ask me what do you do? And I say I work at a cat cafe. They're like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But it's great, and people are now, they know about this thing that exists, so.
Right. Was there a challenge? One of our listeners submitted questions was, how do you handle stuff with the health department, having cats and food in the same place?
So we have 2 sections of the cafe. So there's the actual cafe area where all the food stuff is handled. And then there's the cat side, and food and cats do not mix at all. We don't, no food is allowed in the cattery. Cattery guides don't cross-contaminate with the kitchen and everything. We keep that very, very separate, so that there's no issue with contamination or anything like that. My cat's now yelling at me. But yeah, they're very separate. So it's kind of they're both in one building, but two separate operations a little bit.
And at least when I have gone in there, you were allowed to bring your drink into the cat area. Is that still allowed?
Yeah, drinks are
okay.
fine. Let me just let my cat out real quick.
Yeah, of course. Then they're going to want back in.
Oh yeah, they definitely will.
You can never win.
No, never.
No. Every time I went to the cafe, I was shocked, and especially after I've been to so many other cat cafes, at how clean it is and how smell-free it is. It literally does not smell like there are cats there. Can you speak a little bit about how you guys keep it so pristine and so not smelling like cats?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, there's like, we have like a lot of ventilation, a lot of air filters, purifiers. We scoop so many times a day just to make sure that
They drop it, we scoop it.
Yep.
Right.
Pretty much.
Do you have like a monitor on their boxes? Like, how do you know? Or you just saying like you smell something funky and you go and
smell
scoop
something
it?
funky, we'll immediately go check it out. We have private litter rooms for them also, where we have like our cleaning stuff too, and you know, all their private areas. So we'll just occasionally during our shift go in and check, just give everything a once over, make sure there's nothing that needs to be scooped, nothing that needs to be, you know, put back in place. We monitor it pretty often. Yeah. And then we clean 3 times a day. So in the morning before we open, we wipe down everything, we vacuum, we sweep if we need to sweep, if there's cats that are not crazy about the vacuum. We do all the cleaning stuff, then we do it again.
Do it at lunchtime.
Yeah, at lunchtime at 3. And then we do it again at about 9 when we close. So just a lot of cleaning. And it's good because it gets the cats used to kind of house cleaning too.
Yes.
Like, I know sometimes cats are not the biggest fans of vacuums, but
a lot of our guys are pretty used to it.
yeah,
though,
no, we like to say that that's like a perk of adopting from Koneko is you're not going to get a cat that's going to be scared of the vacuum.
Yeah.
I get that. So, sort of on that token, since we were already talking about litter boxes, what is the litter box setup like? How many do you have? And then also, kind of piggybacking off of that, like how many cats do you normally have in the cafe at one time?
We have how many litter boxes? So we have 10.
Yeah.
She knows off the top of her head.
In my head
10.
as you were asking.
10 litter boxes. There's a smaller litter room in the upper cattery, and then the lower cattery is a much larger litter room. In both of those places, like cats can go to just like take a little break if they want a little break from the people. And how many cats?
Yes, how many cats? Thank you.
We have 17 cats right now.
Okay.
It can get up to around 20 is like our kind of maximum. So,
Sometimes a couple more, sometimes we'll go
we've had
a
a
little
couple
bit over
more,
20.
yeah.
I get it. Oh, yes. What kind of litter boxes do you have? Are they just like open pans? Are they really big? Do you have litter robots? Like, what's going on in there in terms of litter boxes?
Yeah, we just have a bunch of those, the big plastic litter pans. And those are fine. They're pretty standard. But I do think something that really helps, and this is not me being sponsored personally by anything, but we use World's Best Cat Litter, and I will honestly say, like, I do think it is the world's best cat litter.
Yeah, I agree. I use it
for my cats
both use
too.
it at home.
Yeah, and they're great. Like, they have sponsored us before, but their litter doesn't smell for whatever reason. So yeah, World's Best Cat Litter.
That's good. Have you ever had an issue? I don't know why I'm asking all these toilet questions, but that's where my brain's going.
That's a big part of our day.
I'm sure it is. Have you ever had issues with like litter box aversion or inappropriate, toileting with the cats, like where you have to kind of figure out like, oh no, this cat actually wants a different substrate, or this cat actually wants a different kind of litter box? Or have you had those issues, or has it been fairly smooth sailing with the cats and the 2 litter rooms it sounds like you have?
It's been pretty smooth, honestly, while we've
say-
been there.
Yeah, like the only issues we've ever had is if there were little tiny kittens that are kind of learning potty training.
Or if there's a cat, like, maybe that is, has a little bit more testosterone.
Yeah, asserting
We've had
dominance.
We've had a couple sprayers before, but really not.
It's really rare.
It's so rare. Like, I can't even think of a cat off the top of my head who's been a sprayer. I just, it's probably happened.
Yeah. Right, that's very lucky.
Yeah, no, they send us a great group of cats. The rescues
they're
are
great.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so that leads into another question, which is, where are these cats coming from? How are you vetting to make sure that, number one, actually, to make sure they're not bringing in any diseases? I'm sure you're making sure they're fully vaccinated, they've been snap tested, they've been held for all to make sure they don't have, panleukemia or FIV or FIP or anything like that. And then behaviorally, what are you looking for to make sure they're going to fit in with everybody?
Yeah. So we work with two rescue groups, Angelical Cats Rescue and Rescue NYC. And those are both New York-based groups that work with shelters all over the city. Rescue NYC specifically does a lot of TNR work. So a lot of the cats that we get through their rescue are former stray cats who've been vetted and all that. But before the cats come to Koneko, they go to private foster homes where the fosters and the rescue will work together to kind of determine whether or not the cat would be a good fit for the cafe setting. If the cat's really, really scared of people or is aggressive or has a problem with hissing or biting, they might not be such a great fit for the cafe. So we usually try to establish before they come that they're going to be good for the cafe environment, both for them and for the other cats and for the guests who come in.
That's fair. And I will say that every time also I've been in there, it's just a great mix of cats who are very friendly. And even though I live in my own cat cafe, I'm always like, oh, I miss going to other cat cafes where I can meet new and exciting cats. So you also have that outdoor space for cats that they seem to really enjoy. But maybe you can talk a little bit about how they use that space, about if you know about how the planning that went into that, you know, and just kind of the general environmental stimulation that you have set up for them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they love the catio. When the catio's open, like, the other two cattery spaces are kind of empty. Like, they all just go out to the catio and they spend all day out there in the sun watching birds. They love bird watching, hunting little bugs. I don't really know much about the planning or how the catio actually came to be.
One thing I do know is that when Ben was designing the catio, he designed the walls so that they would be higher than the max level that a cat can jump.
Right.
Even if they tried to jump over that wall, I don't think they'd make it. The tops are, there's like some metal on top. I think it's like sheet metal or something that kind of keeps them from climbing all the way up.
Yeah.
And so we've never had anyone try to climb a wall. We've never had any escapees or anything like that. Knock on wood. Yeah. But yeah, no issues. They seem to know that it's kind of like a little enclosed sanctuary that they can hang out in. And
Yeah. And the rest of the cafe, if I'm remembering correctly, you have those like raised areas for them to walk around. Right. And the like little kind of secret, they're not tunnels, but like behind the stairs, there's the places for them to go. Maybe you can talk a little bit about all of those little hidden spaces and climby areas and everything that you have for the cats, because that's what we would call like environmental enrichment. That's really important for cats to have those spaces that are higher up and, you know, in places they can hide and all of that.
Yeah, so I think what you were talking about was the little ramp that the cats go up and down so they can access the upper cattery and the lower cattery just by going up and down this ramp we have.
Right.
And they can also hide out in there if they want. Sometimes they'll take little naps in there and can get like kind of like really warm with the heaters, so they like to hide back there. And they love like having roomies up and down that ramp all the time.
Yeah.
They love that thing.
And it's nice because it connects the two floors, but we can close it off too, and that's how we kind of...
If we have newbies.
If we have newbies, we'll keep the ramp closed so that the new cats can kind of adjust upstairs, and we can rotate in the older cats to kind of meet them without it being too stressful for everyone. And then once they're more comfortable in the upstairs space and they've adjusted, then they can start going downstairs. And then once everyone's comfortable in the space, we'll be able to open up the ramp for a little bit, which will be nice because everyone's just running up and down.
All right. So that was a question that I had for you, is actually how do you handle when you have new intakes? Do you just take them as a cat by cat basis? Do you have certain times where like, okay, we have these 5 new cats, so we're going to close down for a little bit and just have a chill time for these cats to get to know each other and close off certain areas until they're comfortable? Like, how does that all work?
So a lot of the times when we get new intakes, we'll get them, we close on Mondays. We're always closed Monday. A lot of the times we'll get them kind of during that closing period, and we're closed Tuesday too. So a lot of the times the new intakes will have a couple days to kind of get used to the space before people come in. That's not always the case. Sometimes we'll have cats that just come in the middle of the day, and when that happens, we start them off in the private rooms. So we'll kind of put them in the litter room in the crate that they came in and open the door, and they can kind of venture out as they feel ready, and the other newer cats can come in and smell them. If they seem like they're too stressed out, then we can just kind of put them in that room, let them decompress by themselves so no one else can access them. Usually they don't start kind of coming out and interacting with everyone until a couple days in. So they'll kind of adjust in their private space first, and then they come out when they're ready.
Okay. How do you handle feeding? I know you mentioned, there's multiple feeding times a day, but how do you handle feeding that amount of cats and making sure that there's no kind of dominance behavior around the eating, that, nobody's stealing from each other, like monitoring that everyone's actually getting the right amount of food? How is all of that handled?
So half of the cats, most of the cats that hang out downstairs in the lower cattery, we put them in crates so that we can monitor what they're eating and how much they're eating. And then the upstairs cattery, since we have a lot of new cats, we put the food out and we just kind of monitor them as best we can, because there are sometimes, we have a couple of cats right now that love to just once they're done with their food, they'll go over. When they're done with their food,
they'll
they
just to shop.
Yeah, they do. They just cruise around, have a little buffet.
If there's anyone that's on a medication, though,
definitely
we'll put their food away from everyone else. And as they spend more time with us, we try to transition them to crates when we can. So usually the cats will only be eating out of a crate for their first couple weeks, and then they'll go down to the crate. And that helps also with, they don't feel like they have to wolf it down so fast.
Right.
They're not stealing. They don't make as much of a mess, which is great. And they get used to being in a
carrier,
a carrier or a crate. And that's the only time that they are ever in crates. So they have a positive association with that, which is also nice when you need to get them to the vet.
Absolutely. So that's a big thing I always talk to my clients about, is to definitely carrier train and have the carriers out all the time so that it's not this signal that something bad is about to happen. But how then do you initially carrier or crate train them so that going in for their meals is this, positive experience, especially if they're cats who their only experience has been a negative association with a carrier? Do you have a protocol for that? Is it just that you're putting food in it so they're going to go in?
If they don't want to go in the crate, we won't force them. And if they're not eating in the crate, we'll also we will put the food outside so they can eat outside. So it's really it's very up to them if they want to eat in the crate. But I think there's a certain point where they see everyone else eating in the crate and they understand that that's a food location. And if we put sometimes we'll have the crate door open and we'll put the food down in the crate, and then the cat will go in and eat in there, and then eventually we can close the door.
Right.
Some cats are just so food motivated and easygoing that we can just pick them up, put them in the crate, they'll immediately start eating. Other ones, it takes them a little bit. It's pretty individual.
Yeah. Do you have a recall sound or anything that you're using when it's time for food? Or is it just that they know, oh, hey, it's 3 p.m. This is when we eat. We're all gathering around our
They know what time it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. That makes sense. Did they get confused when the time changed?
We were both abroad when the time
okay.
But they have, in the past, I remember they have gotten confused before when they think it's dinner time and there's still one more hour, or they're overjoyed because it's dinner time.
It's early, yes. Yeah, I hear that a lot from people, that their animals are so confused.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Definitely, they're little clocks.
Yeah, they're very precise. Cats especially, their clocks are incredibly precise. So it's interesting. How do you make sure that the cats don't get overwhelmed by having all of these human visitors? I think you have a limit on how many people can be in there. Do you have a place that they can go hide? What's the deal with that?
So we have no more than 15 guests at a time can come in per hour. And so that can be a little bit overwhelming, but I think what really helps is us having these 3 different rooms that the guests can kind of spread out, and the cats can spread out as well. So it's not a whole bunch of people all in one space. So it feels, they can breathe a little bit easier. And then like I said before, they have so many hiding spaces that they can go into. They can go into the litter room and hang out in there, or they can go into one of our little, we have these little towers that they can hide inside with their little cozy bed. On the ramp, they can hide there as well. There's a lot of hiding spaces, which I think is very important to have. with cats because they like their little enclosures.
Yeah.
They do.
And they have everything they need in their private
Yeah.
rooms too. Like they have their bed, their water, their litter box. So we always say like if a cat wants a day where they just are chilling and they're taking a break from being a cat cafe cat, they can totally have that, and they can just stay in that back room for a day and just hang out and take a day off, just like people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great for them that they have those areas where they can kind of go decompress when they need to, and then come back out when they're ready to socialize.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, we all need a day off, so
yeah.
I get it. It's good. It's good they can also have a day off from dealing with people.
Yeah.
And speaking of people coming in, do you have protocols so that people are not bringing diseases to them? Like, do you require shoes off or shoe covers? Do people have to sanitize their hands? What protocols do you make people go through so they're not bringing anything to the cats?
Yeah, we do our best. Shoes off, definitely. And then we make everybody sanitize their hands.
Slippers for
and
people
we
to
do
wear.
have, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We do have slippers if people choose to wear slippers or if they're not wearing socks. Yeah, we do our best to limit like outside germs.
Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
so many people coming in and out that.
We have hand sanitizer stations in the vestibule going in, and then we have one in the cafe too. So if people need to sanitize for any reason, they can always just go back and do that.
Right.
To protect everybody.
So, do you use any kind of behavior modifications to make sure all the cats get along or at least tolerate each other? Like, are you using Feelyway plugins? Are you playing cat music? Are you doing any work with them, like clicker training or anything? Or is this just a case of they've been chosen so well from the rescue groups that you work with that you don't really have to do a lot of work with them?
I think that's the case, honestly,
Yeah.
is the rescue does a great job of choosing cats that will mix really well together and mix really well together in a people heavy environment. So a lot of the cats we get are they're beginner cats, I'd say. They're like,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
pretty easy going. So a lot of training isn't really required. We do like to play them some cat TV sometimes. They love their cat TV. During breaks and stuff, we'll play with them also to just kind of get any extra energy they have out.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
like if there is a cat that comes in that's like a little bit more shy than usual, we have an amazing volunteer who comes in once a week and just like works his magic with these cats, and like
He's the cat whisperer.
he
for
really
sure.
is quite a cat whisperer.
name is Andy.
His name is Andy. We love him. He comes in and he just like spends a little bit of time with the cats in a little private room. And I won't see that cat all day until he comes in, works with them for like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and I'll see that cat like walking around. And
Yeah.
it's like just amazing. I don't know how he
Yeah.
does it.
Yeah, he's a volunteer with Angelical.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky to have him. He's
Very
awesome.
lucky.
That sounds lovely. So what are some signs that you guys might pick up on if the cats might be feeling stressed or uncomfortable in the cafe? I know that they are able to just wander off back into their private area, but for people listening who may not be so attuned to stress signs in cats, are there things that you guys are used to picking up on, being like, oh, I think this cat might want some alone time?
Ears back definitely is the main thing, I would say. Like if you see the cat with their ears like
The
flat,
airplane
yeah,
ears.
airplane
Yeah.
ears, like that cat does not want to hang out right now.
Tail swooshing.
Yeah. Sometimes also you can just see it in their face. Like if especially we've spent so much time with these cats that we know them pretty well, and we
Right.
know what they look like when they're a little bit annoyed. So sometimes we can just see that they're in their face that they're not having it, and so we'll go over. We might take them into the private room. We might just let the person who's interacting with them know that they need a little space. If it's two cats, we might just separate them. But yeah, it's a lot of just kind of case by case
It really
basis
is, yeah.
and
Sure.
body language analysis.
Absolutely. I mean, cat communication is primarily body language. Do you ever have to like stop a guest who's in the cat cafe who might be like playing too hard, or do you have to give guidelines to guests about like, oh, well, you know, if a cat gives you this signal, you might want to back off, or this is how you should play with a cat, or don't touch a cat here? How do you, yes, if a cat shows you their butthole, they like you, you know, how do you handle kind of like walking less cat knowledgeable people through interacting with cats in the cat cafe?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, people do like understand like cats are different than dogs, and they, you know, have their certain play styles. But there are occasionally times where people don't really know how to play with a cat, so we show them and just kind of teach them the best way that the cat will actually interact with them instead of just like totally ignoring their like whatever toy they're playing with. And we just try to show them like
we try to tell people not to play with their hands
their
with
hands,
the cat. That's one of our rules that we go over in our initial rules. And so we will have a big rotating selection of toys so that and it's really important that they rotate also because otherwise they get bored of them really fast. So we have some special toys also that we'll take out when we see everyone might be looking a little bit bored. That immediately just gets the energy up because it's like a special occasion toy.
I love that, a special occasion toy. So cute. Yeah. I don't remember, do you guys are kids able to come in?
So we have kids hours on Thursdays. And during kids hours, kids under 8 can come in with a parent, of course. And on times outside of kids hour, which is 4 to 6 Thursday, there's no kids allowed under 8. So everyone is over 8.
Right. Okay. And I ask that for the listeners just because a lot of cats don't love kid energy because kids are loud, kids move erratically and quickly. They're not predictable in the way that adult behavior is much more predictable. And so my next question was then during these times when children are allowed in of all ages, do you notice that you have less cats out interacting? What do you notice about those times? I guess is what I should ask.
The cats do kind of recognize when there is a smaller human around, and they can definitely tell, like, child versus adult. So
energy's a lot bigger.
Their energy, definitely. So they do, some of them do tend to hide. But we try, with the cats that do still, like, hang around with the kids, we do our best to make sure the interactions
we try to make sure we kind of doubly emphasize the rules during kids hour.
Definitely like make sure that they know that these are rescue cats, so they can be skittish.
There's not allowed to pick the cats up whatsoever. We say make sure you don't restrain them or hold them back in any way. Like try not to, put your hands on them too much.
Give them
like
space
that.
if they want to have space, basically.
And we tell kids to use their indoor voices. We really just try to make sure that during kids hour we have an extra eye on things.
Sure.
Luckily, a lot of the parents that come in are pretty watchful. We always make sure that wherever the kid is in the cattery, the parent is with them and watching them.
Has to stay with the kid.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Sure.
It can be good for the cats, too, because it gives them like a chaperoned opportunity to interact with children so that if they were adopted into a family that either has kids or is going to have kids at some point in the future, they have experience with that. A lot of our cats are also younger cats. We have a lot of kittens, and I've noticed that the kittens actually play really well with the kids. And they love playing together. It's funny. It's like watching just like two kids play, but like one cat. I love watching the kids and the kittens play. I think it's adorable. And it's great for them, and it's great for the kid too, because they're learning how to interact gently with an animal.
Yeah.
But I think as long as it's chaperoned really well and everyone's kind of keeping a close eye on things, because kids don't have full control over their little bodies yet. It's just good to make sure everyone's being watched, but I think it can be a great experience for both the kid and the cat.
No, I agree, and I always say that cats are such amazing teachers of consent that they're really great to have in a family with little kids, because kids learn all about asking for consent for a million different things, because if you don't, you're sure going to learn with a cat. And if a cat is like, I don't like kids, no kids whatsoever, like I'm feeling it, they just go into their back room. Yeah, they just leave.
Yeah, they just leave, and they don't have to hang out with any kids at all.
So can you share some insights into how the cats communicate with each other and with the people in the Cat Cafe?
So I feel like it's always fun to watch the cats who have been there for a little bit longer interact with the new cats.
But that made me think, like, we have this one cat named Sunny.
I was also thinking of Sunny.
Yes, Sunny, he is so small. He is probably almost a year, if not.
I think he's
just about a year.
Now,
But he's still, like, very, like, kitten size. But whenever he comes up to the upper cattery where we have most of our newer cats and kittens, he still acts like, no, I'm the baby. This is my home. I'm the baby, and I don't like you because you're now the new baby, and it's just really funny.
Then the funny thing about him is that within 2 weeks he will be like snuggling in that cat's,
he'll like totally be like, oh,
right,
wait.
cuddled up. Like he loves other cats. They each have their own like such individual personalities.
They are.
It's funny to just
Very
like
different.
see how they interact with all the new cats. Eventually everybody does usually end up getting along.
Yeah.
But the intros are always funny.
How long does a cat like normally stay at the cafe? Do you have like a rough estimate of how long?
Anywhere from like 2 weeks to a year. It really just depends on the cat and the situation.
Right.
I'd say on average probably no more than 3 months.
Yeah,
It's probably like
that's the
the rough average, but it totally depends.
Yeah. Sometimes it's we have a lot of bonded pairs, and it can be harder to adopt out the bonded pairs than the singles. And so usually when we have a cat stay for more than 3 or so months, it's either because they are in a bonded pair with somebody else, or just any random reason that you could think of. Honestly, it's totally
Or
random.
if they're just like not quite a kitten, if they're a little bit like more of an adult cat, unfortunately people...
Kittens always go fast.
Yeah, kittens always go fast.
Long-haired cats always go fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
The
so
cat
funny.
ones, black and white cats will stay the longest.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What a shame, because black and white cats are the coolest.
We
I know.
have
I
so many of them.
I have
Ugh.
one of the best.
That was my soulmate was Steve, who just passed like 6 months ago. He was the one who loved toddlers, and like he used speech buttons, and he was like really famous online. But Steve, he is a tuxedo, and he was just the coolest dude.
Yeah.
So dumb. People are so dumb. But yeah, I have also noticed in my rescue work that people want kittens right away. They want like fancy looking cats, and I find the kittens and fancy looking cats tend to be, I don't want to say the most annoying cats out, but definitely kittens will put you through it, and they're cute because they have to be cute. Otherwise, you would like, it is so obnoxious.
It is having a little 2-year-old running around your house.
Yeah, it's just they have to be cute because they're like wrecking everything in your house. You have to train them, everything. It's such a lot of work. And then the long-haired cats I love, and we just adopted one who just showed up again in our yard, and it was like our 4th TNR of this year already, which is crazy. And he just got along really well with all our guys who were in like real grief over Steve. So we were like, all right, I guess you're staying. But he's a long-haired guy, and the sanitary shaves and the constant brushing, just like
He's got a long
I
hair.
have a long-haired cat.
Yeah.
So I understand. Yeah, I have to use like I have to use like wipes on him sometimes.
yeah, it's a lot of work. Whereas
So much.
Of course, and I love Butters. He's like my dude, but it's just, it's funny. I thought Butters was a unique name, and then I went to go make him an Instagram, and boy, did I learn everyone names their butter-colored cat Butters, and I was like, oh, there's like 500 Butters already. Oh well, this is not a unique name at all, but
It's a cute name.
It's still super cute. I love any
it's
cat that's
adorable.
named after food.
Yes.
yeah, he's named after food, but he's also named after Butters from South Park.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Have you observed any interesting or unusual behavioral patterns or quirks among the cats that you would like to share with listeners? Like, do they do anything funny because they're in the cafe? Or does their particular cat have a funny behavior?
Panini and Martini come to mind.
Yes, they're a special bunch.
Great names, by the way.
You named them, right?
I did, yes,
Yeah.
with some help from one of our other coworkers. But Martini and Panini have been with us for about a year now, since they were little kittens, and these two are hilarious. Like, we love them so much. They were actually on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, and they're such teenage boys. They have a lot of energy. These two are like, they're amazing. They're so funny, and they just have so much teen boy energy, and they're looking for a home where they can just kind of have fun, and like, someone who's looking to have fun with
That
these
can
guys.
keep
Right.
up with your energy.
With their energy.
So it sounds like they need probably a lot of intellectual and environmental stimulation too. So
Exactly.
maybe if somebody has like a bird feeder or a great place where they can like watch birds, that would be great. Somebody who's home a lot, maybe. Have you guys ever used one of those cat wheels that cats can run on? I don't know if someone wants.
Those.
So
I
funny.
really wish we had
should-
one.
We should get one.
Maybe someone can sponsor you guys to get one.
If Martini Martini and Panini a cat wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Anything to get them like running around a lot, like good environmental modification in their home. Like, I think all cats deserve a lot of environmental and intellectual stimulation. It's really good for them just because they're all kind of OCD, and they're meant to be outside hunting for like 10 hours a day. But since they're not, and so it really is helpful if we can get their energy out so they don't destroy things or inappropriately toilet or any of the other that they do that people find annoying. I can't talk. Anyway, can you tell me a little bit about the adoption process? Like if people come in and they're like, I want to adopt Panini and Martini, what would they do?
Yeah. So we work with 2 rescue groups, so the process is a little bit different depending on which cat you would be interested in adopting. Martini and Panini are with Rescue NYC. So for Rescue NYC, you would send an email in to info@rescuenyc.org, and then you just say that you're interested in adopting Martini and Panini or whichever cat, and then the rescue will get back in contact with you. For both rescues, they are volunteer only, so the response times can vary just depending on how busy people are, what people are swamped with at the moment. But usually in about a week, they'll probably get back to you and start talking to you about the adoption application. For Rescue NYC, you inquire about the application and then they send it to you. With Angelical, the application is on their website, so you could just submit the application right through there. And I think that's just angelicalcats.com.
Okay. And so then if they approve you, they come to you guys, to Koneko, and you hang out with the cats some more, you get to know them more, you just come and pick them up? Like, how does that work?
So we do meet and greets.
Right.
So if people are approved to adopt, then they'll come and do a meet and greet and just kind of sit with the cat and make sure everyone gets along well and everything's good. And then if everything is all set, then we'll actually bring the cat to the adopters. So
great.
we'll transport them there.
All right, lovely. Oh, these are some some listener questions. Is how do you manage parasites? Do you treat all the cats monthly, or is that something that you just have the rescue organizations handle along with the vaccinations? And
so they all get flea and tick medicine once a month, just preventatively. We don't really have any issues with fleas or anything like that, just because the rescues do such a good job getting the cats before they bring them to us. And most of the times they're coming from foster homes where it's a flea-free situation already.
Right.
So yeah, it's not really an issue. We also do dewormers routinely also, especially if we're noticing anyone's having a crazy feeding frenzy habits or weight loss or anything like that. We'll just do like a routine dewormer. But parasites aren't a huge issue with us just because everyone has kind of been through the vet a bunch of times before it came to us.
Yeah. And the flea and tick medications, depending on which one you're using, a lot of those are also dewormers at the same time, or at least have some deworming. Evolution. Then, do you leave the cats alone at night is another listener question.
Yeah, some of the cats, they are left alone at night. Some of them are in the upstairs cattery, and then the rest of them are in the downstairs cattery, kind of just like locked in there, but free roaming.
Yeah.
And
cameras on them all night.
Yeah, we have cameras as well, and I'm sure that's probably when they are the most active.
Right.
Then somebody comes in the morning and feeds them, and they're left to party all night long.
You guys should stream that footage. Charge a subscription to that.
We
really
did. There was an article. I think it was some camera, I don't know if it was like some type of Nest camera or something like that.
Some type of.
They set a camera up overnight and they filmed all the cats running around. So that's out there somewhere. If you look up like Koneko Cat overnight camera,
something like that. I'm not sure.
There.
Yeah.
You can see him running around.
That's so cute. I'm just thinking of like additional income streams. I don't know why. I'm just like, you could set that up and charge people.
Yeah, I mean, we could totally.
We should.
Yeah, I would love to see it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I would definitely, because I never go to sleep till like 4 a.m, so I feel like I would be like, oh, let's watch some cat. Not that I don't have my own cats to just get up and watch, but like I'd like to watch some strange cats run around.
Yeah.
Okay. And so lastly, well, actually, there's 2 more, I guess. What role do you think cat cafes play in promoting animal welfare and adoption?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just a good experience for people to have just like hanging around cats, and I think cats can teach us a lot of things, especially about consent, and just it's just interesting to see how they like live life. And I think when people are exposed to cats just going about their day, I think it's, I don't know, to me, like it's very interesting just to see like how cats live and stuff. But yeah, it's also, of course, like we are there to make you fall in love with the cats, so you want to bring them home, because all of these cats are so deserving of a nice little home that they can be there forever and be happy.
Your cat agreed.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with everything you said. And it's also, I think it's great for them to have an environment while they're waiting for adoption that's not a shelter environment, and an environment that is specifically curated for them. Like, it's not a cat living in a person's house, even if it's a foster house. It's a cat living in a house made for a cat. And it's a whole space designed just for them. They can hang out, and you can kind of, you know, as you're looking at cats, looking for cats to adopt, you can see how the cat interacts with its own environment and is kind of in its most comfortable place already. So I think that's
great. Socialization as well.
Way better than a shelter.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
All day.
Yeah.
Shelters are great, but way better than sitting in a cage all day.
No, it's true. I don't think I could ever work in a cat cafe because
it's hard to not like fall in love with them and want to take them home. There's been some cats that have been through that's like, I want to take this one home.
It's hard, but it's worth it. You know, it's sad when they go to their new homes for us, because we've gotten to know them so well and we love them. And I think to some degree, at least for me, I don't want to speak for you, but I think of all of them as my cats.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
And it's hard to, you know, be like, well, I have this strong bond with you and I'm probably never going to see you again. But there's something so beautiful about being like, and now you're going to have the best life ever.
Exactly.
And like, I'm so glad that I got to know you, because it's like being a teacher and having like your favorite students graduating. And it's like, well, I'm not going to see you again, but I'm so proud of you.
That's true. That's a good way to look at it. Although I will say, when we do rescue work, I do always try to keep in touch with the people who have adopted, so that at least like once a year we can get an update as to how the cat is doing. And with some of them, the people will text me every few days with like, here's a new picture or whatever, you know, or they'll start a social media for the cat, which I love, because then I can stalk them. You know, and follow along. So the last question I have is, are there any misconceptions about cat cafes that you would like to address or clarify?
That's a really good question.
That is a good question. A lot of people think that we do same-day adoptions, and we do not do same-day adoptions for a very important reason. It's because vetting before you adopt is really important.
Absolutely.
Because there are some people out there that don't have good intentions when they're adopting cats. So we know people want to take home their best friend as soon as possible, right away. But you know, it's for the best for the cat and for the person. You know, we have to make sure it's a good match. You're you know, potential 20 years of living with another living being in your own home. Like it can't be a same day thing all the time. That's more of an adoption, I think, misconception than a cat cafe misconception specifically. But I think since we have all the cats right there, people often think that they'll be able to take them home same day, and that would be great, but it happens like that for a reason.
Yeah. And also, I think to that point, like, people need to have their homes prepared. They have to kind of cat-proof their home. They need to, I would recommend they get some type of pheromone going to get the cat, like, relaxed. You know, they need to be prepped. I don't think it's a choice you can just make on the spur of the moment. So
Absolutely.
I get it.
And like, we have had people before think that this is like a little play date center for their cat as well, so they have brought in their cat.
We have had people
They think that it's like a little daycare for their cats. Bring in their cat and they can have a fun little time. And that is absolutely not the case.
You can't just throw
just
throw them in.
We don't know, like, I'm sure your cat is lovely, but we don't know where you have been, where your cat has been. Like, we don't know if they're gonna get along. Like, there's so many things that it's like, no way. But yeah, it has happened more than you would think.
Someone dropped their cat off with us once for us to, I don't know if they thought we were cat babysitters, but they opened the door, tossed a cat in, and went around the corner to park their scooter.
They did come back.
They did come back.
But they thought it was they
were
did
like,
thought,
I'm just gonna
like, think that
drop my cat at the cat cafe while I go around the corner. So yeah, that's a misconception. Is we have the cats. You leave your cat at home.
Yeah.
I am flabbergasted.
That's, I think, the craziest thing.
Like, these people who I would be like, if these people met a cat, but they have a cat, so like, just good luck to everybody in their endeavors. That is wild behavior. Okay.
Oh, there's a bit.
Yeah, people are crazy. Okay, so I think that's all the questions. Unless you guys have anything you would like to add.
I think we've,
I think
catted it up.
we've covered it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to say a big thank you to Amelia and Veronica from Koneko, and thank you for correcting me for mispronouncing this lovely cat cafe's name for the past 9 years like a total moron.
Andy Cohen said it the same way.
Yeah. Andy Cohen and you are
Done. Great. Well, thank you guys so much again.
thank you.
And thank you so much for making time on your Sunday. I really appreciate it.
That was amazing.
Yeah, this was so fun.
Yay.
Thanks so much for
All
having
right.
me.
Thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks,
You too.
Okay. All right. Bye. Thanks for watching. Hiss and Tell is a subsidiary of my cat behavior business, Cattitude Adjustment, and that's our channel name on YouTube, which is where you've watched this video most likely. If you'd like to engage my services as a cat behaviorist, you can find me at cattitude-adjustment.com. Music is generously provided by Cat Beats.